Hi, I'm Tanya,
And I'm Elaine.
and we both work at Dundee's Central Library.
Welcome to the latest episode of the library podcast Beyond the Bookshelf.
So this time we welcome Neil from our library outreach team. Neil's been extremely busy working with his team on pulling together a fantastic programme for this year's Book Week Scotland events, and he'll be telling us more about that later.
That's right, Book Week Scotland's happening between the 14th and 19th of November, and we're really looking forward to it.
Yeah, we're all looking forward to it. But first, it's time to share with you what we've been reading and enjoying since last time.
Well, Tanya,
Yes.
I've been reading children's books.
No surprise there, though.
Yes, I know. So the first one that I would like to review is Looking After Your Mental Health by Alice James and Louis Stoll. So this is a young person's guide to good mental health. The topics include friendships, social media, bullying, anxiety, depression, eating disorders and relationships. You can dip in and out of it, so you don't have to read it from start to finish.
Yeah.
The illustrations are fabulous. It's written in a simple, friendly way, and it would be a very useful conversation starter for young people and for adults who have young people in their lives.
Which is great. Yeah.
The information is up to date and relevant, and it's full of great tips about taking care of your mental health, which I think is really important considering the situation we find ourselves in at the moment, and how to help others who appear to be struggling. So
Sounds
it's
really good.
It's a fancy book.
Yeah, great.
Now, the next book that I would like to just briefly mention is Secret 7.
We've all been there.
I was a huge fan of the Secret 7 when I was a wee girl, and I would say that it was the Secret 7 that really got me into reading.
Yeah, I think I was the same. Well, not the Secret 7, but Enid Blyton. I really.
So
got
this
started.
is the Secret 7 with a bit of a twist, because although it's Enid Blyton's Secret 7, it's written by Pamela Butcher and it's illustrated by Tony Ross.
Okay. So Pamela Butcher is a local author.
She
We
is.
have a lot to do with Pamela.
Yes,
She's a
we
good
do.
supporter of the library.
Indeed. So they have both revived the original characters, and in this story, the Secret 7 are chosen to be extras in a local play.
Okay.
So I'll give you the title, and if you can give the title, I'll just launch straight into the Secret 7
You're so
because
excited.
I absolutely love them. So it's the Secret 7 Mystery of the Theatre Ghost.
Okay.
That
That's
is
intriguing.
Very much
What's
so.
behind the curtain?
Yep. So they're chosen to be extras in a local play, but when a series of unexplained accidents take place on stage, they don't feel so lucky.
No.
The cast are convinced that a theatre ghost is causing the mischief, but the 7 are not so sure, and it's up to the gang to find out who's really behind it and why.
Do we think that the 7 are ghost skeptics then?
Oh, I
Or they
think
just don't believe in ghosts? There must be a reasonable
Definitely not.
explanation.
Definitely not. So
yeah.
the Secret 7 books were always fun. They were always great fun and exciting and full of intrigue. And I can't fault the way Pamela Butcher has actually written this new Secret 7 book. What I really love about it, and what I wish had happened when I was a lot younger, was that the Secret 7 books were really quite thin.
That's true.
Whereas Pamela Butcher ones are a bit chunkier.
Really padded out. And what about the sort of language and are there
It's more up to
is
date.
it like mobile phones and stuff like that? all
It's much
introduced?
more up to date. Yeah, it's not. I mean, I think reading an original Secret 7 book now, it is a bit dated.
It's like when you watch something, a rerun of something on TV that you know you really enjoyed, and then it just seems really old-fashioned.
And the other thing that I have noticed in the books is that the girls have more to do within the Secret 7 because back in the day.
Yeah, I guess they didn't really take the prime role.
No.
So
I'd like to.
Yeah. Well, that sounds great.
But it was great being transported back to the 1970s.
And a great way to engage new generations.
Oh yeah, definitely.
As they've done with lots of famous authors. But
and what I absolutely loved was that it just reminded me of the time when I used to hide under the movie cover reading.
Is that how you read that one?
Well, I I've tried it, but it's too boring.
I actually used to get into trouble from my dad for reading with the torch. You're ruining your eyes.
Yes, I see.
You know what? You just wanted to squeeze out that
But it was
last wee
exciting.
while.
It was
of reading.
exciting doing it.
Yeah, and
So-
actually he was right because I have ruined my eyes a bit.
So that's my two books.
Well, they sound great. Well, I have also got two books, one that I have read and completed and one that I'm reading at the moment. So, the one that I've finished was recommended to me, and to be honest, I wasn't that keen and I loved it. It's a really, really good book. So it's not new, it came out in 2017 and it's called The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo
She's
by by Taylor Jenkins Reid, and it's a fantastic story about, you know, the heyday of Hollywood glamour from the sort of 50s, 60s, 70s. It's a story about Evelyn Hugo, who is an ageing icon. I mean, there's a lot of references to she could have been like Elizabeth Taylor, or she could have been like, you know, umpteen different movie stars, but the character is great, like it is a person in itself. So when the book starts and you meet Evelyn, she's 79, I think it is, and she's a bit reclusive, but she has decided to do a magazine interview because she is auctioning off all her fabulous gowns from the past decades to raise money, for a breast cancer charity. So for some reason she asked for a particular magazine reporter who is very unknown, this girl called Monique, and she's asked to go and meet her and do the interview, which she's really surprised at, and so are her bosses, you know, why is she asking for her? So she goes and meets Evelyn in her apartment, and when she gets there she said, it's not just about this article, I want you to tell my life story, which has never been out there before. And again, she's very confused, but as the story develops, you realise that there's definite reason why she's picked Monique and why she wants her to know. Well, you'll have to read it because I'm not going to tell you. So it's the kind of story that I do like because it keeps going back and forward. It starts when Evelyn, her first husband was when she was 14, and she got married to get away from her abusive dad, basically. And then she sort of went up the stepping stones. She then she started acting. She married a producer. She married different actors. So all in all, she had 7 husbands. But the irony of the whole story is that she had one great love affair that lasted throughout her life, but it could never be told. It was a secret. So that's what the story is all about, and it all unfolds. And it's great because you're getting all the bits of glitz and glamour, and then it comes back up to date, and you know, she'll sit with Monique and go through bits and pieces, and you're in the modern times, and then you go back again. And it's touching, and it's a bit sad at the end, I have to say, but it's well worth a read. Or you can wait because Netflix are about to make it into a film.
I was just about to say it. It sounds like
It's that kind of story that you can imagine it all, and even the cover, which we have sitting here, which is wearing a fabulous green gown, and that's referred to in the story, and it's very descriptive. So I think it'll translate really well.
But equally, I'd want to read it before I saw it on television.
Definitely, yeah. I would, as we've said umpteen times, I would always go for the story because you can imagine it in your own way.
You want to imagine what she looks like.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's a great story, and I think I did look up the author because I'm not familiar with her. She has written one other book called Daisy Jones and the Six, which is about a band, which might give that a go as well, because I like that when it gives you an insight into a different world, and that's what that did. So that's The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and then I've moved on to something completely different. I am currently reading the new Graham Norton. I've read all his books.
I haven't read any of his books.
Yeah, well, you should.
Are they good?
They're great. They're great because you know what he's like as a personality, and he's very chatty, and his books are just like he's having a chat and telling you a story. So this one is called Forever Home. Again, it's set in Ireland, and the main character is Carol. Now, she was a teacher, and she divorced quite young, brought up her son on her own, but then she meets someone when she's maybe in her late 40s, I think, called Declan, that lives in the same. She knew him because she used to tutor his daughter. Now Declan, he has his own business, a chemist shop in the town, and his wife had mysteriously disappeared a number of years before, but nobody speaks about it. So he has 2 children, but they're now grown up. So she sells her house, she moves in with Declan. They never marry. She's divorced, but Declan isn't, because his wife just sort of upped and left, as they would say. They don't speak about what happened. So she moves in with Declan. She's very happy with him, but he develops dementia. So he then gets to the stage where he has to go into a care home, and the grown-up children take over, and basically Carol's out on her ear on the street. They take back the house, and she's homeless. She moves back in with her mum and dad, which is all sounding a bit grim, but it's actually quite funny as well to read, just because of the way he writes. So Carol's mother and father have got a bit of money. They also have a business. So they decide that when the house goes up for sale, they're going to buy it for her. So they do. So she's now set to move back in to the house. She still goes to visit Declan in the care home. But I think it was because the electricity was switched off. I haven't quite sussed that out. While the house was empty, a terrible smell develops, and all the neighbours start to complain. So when Carol and her mother, who is a force to be reckoned with and a very well-rounded character too, they sort of decide that they're going to do up the house, but they then discover where the smell is coming from. And all I would say is it's not what you might, what I thought was obvious.
So I'm thinking it's his wife.
It is, well, I can't tell you that, but it wasn't the obvious answer for me. So it's very dark. He says it's his darkest, most twisty novel that he's written. But it's also the funniest. He says it's the funniest he's written. And up to the point I'm at, I would agree. I'm very much enjoying it. So that's Forever Home by Graham Norton. Okay, so how about you, Neil? Welcome again.
Hi, Neil.
Thank you, ladies. As a new voice for the podcast, glad to be here. I'm currently reading my way through Motsi Mabusi's autobiography. It's just recently come out because it is obviously Strictly season again.
Love Strictly.
Motsi has followed the path of several other judges from Strictly, so her autobiography is just out. Chart's quite an interesting course for her, because you have to think about where Motsi came from and grew up. She was born in South Africa, or Kraalhok. I maybe have pronounced that wrong. Apparently it's very difficult to find it on a map.
Okay.
But basically you're into apartheid South Africa was when she was born. So, and she does put a disclaimer almost in the front of the book that she does frequently refer to blacks, whites and colours, and she does say, although that language is probably abhorrent to people in this day and age, that is what she grew up with, and that's the language she sticks with.
Yeah.
So it charts her way through being born into apartheid. Family were quite driven. Family was a lawyer. Father was a lawyer, sorry, and her mother was a nursery teacher. Again, that seems quite commonplace just to say, but for a black family, that was quite an accomplishment.
Yeah, that was my initial thought there. Yeah.
So again, the challenges that the family have had, they're all quite driven. You can see where she gets her personal drive from when you hear what her mother and her father have been up to. As I say, I'm only halfway through it at the moment. She got dumped by her first dancing partner because he went off to dance with somebody he thought was better.
I bet he's kicking himself. He's already shiny shoes.
Indeed. She's currently just moved to Germany, and you forget she did that basically in her late teens. Now, for somebody from a black background from South Africa, that was a monumental move to make in those days. You kind of get the feeling that the book has been dictated. I feel like I can hear her reading it. I don't think she actually sat and typed it. I just get that sense that she's probably dictated and somebody's
That has reminded me of something I was told about another Strictly judge that writes novels, that he doesn't put.
Yeah. I've
He
heard
just
that too.
talks.
Yeah.
He talks, gives his ideas, and somebody else
I think
writes it all down. I believe.
podcast.
But then it's maybe just a conduit between him and the written words.
So very interesting read, very interesting to see how attitudes to dance have changed. given where Motsy's come from, as we said. Also as well, the attitudes to dance in young people in those days in South Africa was very different to what we would have had here. Again, this is before Strictly, before the phenomenon of Strictly. It was commonplace, even a given thing, that back in South Africa in the day, everybody danced. Girls would frequently do netball, and dance sport is what they called it. They didn't call it dancing, it was dance sport. And the boys equally there was no questions asked, they would play football and dance. You wouldn't have had that attitude to dancing in Britain going back 30, 40 years. So
maybe a bit of Scottish country dancing.
So it's interesting to see. As I say, I haven't finished it yet, still ploughing through it. Thoroughly enjoying it. It gives you a better insight into one of the Strictly judges at the moment, and I would recommend it.
I think it's amazing sometimes when you think about how some people are just so driven though. And her sister's a dancer on Strictly.
They've all actually come through dancing. Again, you might get the pronunciation right or wrong. Femelo, I think, is the middle sister. Motsy's the oldest.
Right.
That's actually an abbreviation as well. Forgot to write down her actual name. It's a longer name. It's a bit like Liz for Elizabeth. Motsy is a shortened version of her full first name. Oti's the youngest. She's the one that's been.
That's the one I was aware of first, and then
There's quite a gap. It's Motsy and her Femelo, the next sister, are quite close, and there's quite a big gap until Oti came along.
Right.
And so Motsy, I think, is in around the 40s. So it's an interesting way. It just shows you how attitudes to dance have changed, how driven you needed to be to succeed in the role of professional dance. And she's got the added handicap, if that's the correct way of putting it, coming from a black or coloured background. Even dancing with a white partner when she was coming through in what we did in the 80s and 90s was very much frowned upon. And she does say in the book quite clearly, we got a better mark when we were judged by international judges rather than being marked in South Africa.
Yeah, great. Well, that sounds really good. Thank you very much, Neil. So, as usual, we'd like to just highlight a few new titles that are arriving in the library just now and being popular. So, to kick off, I have the new Richard Osman, the latest. I think it's the third in the Thursday Murder Club series, and these have just been phenomenally successful. I mean, quite often books by TV personalities are popular, but I read that the first one, the Thursday Murder Club, sold 45,000 copies in the first 3 days.
I mean, it was a good list.
Gentle. And
lovely.
Able to rattle through it. So this is number 3, and the gang are back again. A local news legend is on the hunt for a sensational headline, and soon the gang are hot on the trail of two murders 10 years apart. Again in their sort of care home village setting.
You'll be made this is a chance, I mean, just waiting to happen.
Yeah, I'm sure it is, and it seems you can't go wrong. So this is number 3. I'm sure there'll be a lot more to come, and he's recently announced that he's stepping down from Pointless.
He has.
Richard Osman. Yeah. So he says he wants to concentrate on his writing career. So I'm sure there's a lot more to come. I actually saw him quite recently when I was in Edinburgh. I was coming out of Waverley Station, and he was walking down towards the train station, and he's huge. That's the only reason I noticed him. I think it said when I read the review that he's 6'7", but yeah, very big man. So that's The Bullet That Missed, and then I also have a non-fiction title which I spotted just sitting in the library on a book display, and I thought it looked really interesting because again it's another sort of journey into a life that I know, a world that I know nothing about, and it's called The Accidental Detectorist, Uncovering an Underground Obsession. So it's written by Nigel Richardson, and he is a journalist. He was at one point UK Travel Journalist of the Year, and he's written a number of non-fiction books as well in the past. But this came about when he was stuck at home in lockdown. Obviously, as a travel journalist, there wasn't a lot going on. So in the middle of the pandemic, he happened to meet someone called Chris Rogers, who is one of Britain's eminent metal detectorists. Dipping a toe into the hobby, Nigel quickly finds himself swept up in the world beneath the surface. Above the ground are a cast of fascinating and passionate people who open Nigel's eyes to a subterranean world of treasures and stories that bring the history of the island to life. So it's all about detectives right across the country. It says it's from Scotland to Cornwall,
I think it's
and
fantastic.
about what they've found and their journey, and they seem to have a great time doing it too.
I think, I
so,
mean, they do. I think it sounds fascinating. I think it'd be really easy to become obsessed with your metal detector.
I think it's a good thing. And also that other thing that I've been aware of called mudlarking. Have you seen that? That they do at the Thames? Is it just the Thames?
There's a non-fiction.
Like expect you to know the answer to
No,
that.
because I've seen it. It's
so
somebody literally searching when because the Thames is tidal.
Uh-huh.
So when the tide goes out, they literally go and search the mud.
They find,
relics.
you know, it could
It's
be old
amazing what they can
bottles,
find.
but they find lots of things, coins, jewellery, bits of pottery, but you're just basically breaking through the mud, aren't you, to
Because you
uncover
forget
things.
London existed back in Roman times. They're finding Roman coins and Roman artifacts just in the mud. Because they just dumped it in the water.
Like that. So there you go, mudlarking. There are books about that too. So
I've never heard of
that
it.
might be another route to investigate for you. So, so that's the two I've been having a look at. But
Well, the two that I have, again, very much on my wee jaunt through children's fiction and non-fiction. The first one is The Project Fairy, and this is the new Jacqueline Wilson. Now, I haven't read it, so I'm just going to read a wee bit of the blurb. So Mab's mum is obsessed with fairies. She even named Mab after the fairy queen. When Mab wakes up on her birthday, she's given a frilly pink fairy dress from her mum. Even though Mab doesn't really like girly things, she wears it to school to make her mum happy. But she knows horrible Cathy at school will take the mickey.
Some things have never changed.
Mab isn't sure how to feel when her teacher gifts her an old fairy book. But when Mab finds a tiny pressed flower inside, her views on fairies quickly change.
That sounds like a nice
Sounds
story.
lovely.
Yeah.
I mean, Jacqueline Wilson, she's a great storyteller, absolutely fantastic. So I mean, it's definitely one that I will look out for.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah.
And be in a lot of people's Christmas stockings.
Oh yeah, very much.
Probably.
Yeah. Even I mean, the cover looks beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, so the second book that I'd like to tell you about then quickly is called Special Delivery. And it's a book's journey around the world. And it's by Polly Faber and Class Fallon. So it follows the journey of one book across the globe. So it's really from the production of the book to the bookshelf.
Yeah, start to finish.
Yeah, start
it's like
to finish.
Farm to Fork.
Yeah.
For books.
From a printing press in a factory far, far away, over land and across the sea, to the hands of a young boy, with stylish contemporary artwork and gentle narrative text, this picture book introduces all the people, processes and vehicles involved in delivering the perfect gift. It is a beautiful picture book.
I must say, I've had a sneaky look at it as well, and it's lovely.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. And I think it's really interesting for wee ones to see how books are produced. You know,
of course,
in the electronic age that we live in.
Yeah.
We're probably more likely to have seen an iPad.
Definitely, yeah, especially for the last few years.
Yeah, very much so.
And I think on the cover of it, that it's got container ship
It
and all
does.
the containers, and I think that's a great lesson for kids as well, to sort of find out how stuff moves around the world, because I find that quite fascinating.
Lots to
The
talk
volume
about.
of stuff that travels a long way. So
Yeah,
it's
lots
really
to talk
nice.
about in the book.
And I should also flag up that I was reminded by Helen from the Children's Library that November is non-fiction month. So she was glad that we were going to feature a non-fiction book for children. So there we go. So that's great. Some nice books that we've talked about. As ever, you can reserve any of these books on our app, if you have the library app, the Spiders app, or via the website. Just go onto the link to search the catalogue. You can find them there, and you can reserve them. We've also started highlighting the titles that we discuss in the podcast once it goes live on the online catalogue, so that's an easy way for you to find them. Just while we're mentioning that, if you're looking for something to do over these winter months of an evening, I know that I don't have my garden so much at this time of year, so I'm looking for other things to do. So on the online catalogue, you'll see that we've got a collection of hobbies, arts and crafts books, so a huge selection of books from all across the libraries across Dundee, and you can view them there and reserve them and pick them up at your most convenient location. At the same time, on the website we've got, if you fancy learning a new skill or perhaps a new language over the winter, ready to go on holiday next year, just have a look at our e-learning link there, and you'll see things like Universal Class, where you can select a topic and work your way through a set of online modules on it, and you even get some feedback from the tutor on what you submit. Or you can use our transparent language service, which gives you free access to language courses basically that you can work through and do little exercises and build your vocabulary. So they are all on our website, so that's www.leisureandculturedundee.com/library. So we'll take a short break now. Welcome back. You're listening to Beyond the Bookshelf from Dundee Libraries.
Hi Neil, welcome along. So Book Week Scotland is happening very soon, between the 14th and 19th of November. Can you tell us exactly what Book Week Scotland is all about?
So a little bit of history here then, folks. Book Week Scotland is now in its 11th year. It was initiated by the Scottish Book Trust, who still continue to lead and support it. And library services across Scotland have been involved in the programme since its inception. The purpose of Book Week Scotland is really to encourage people to engage with books, reading and literature in general throughout the week. It has changed its date. I think it used to be in the summer, but it's now been moved to November. But it really is trying to encourage people to get involved in books who don't normally read. So we have arranged a range of activities and events through the week to try and encourage people to come and engage with us again. Also as well, after 2 years of COVID interruptions, shall we say, we're very much focused on an in-person series of events this year. So we've got a very packed and exciting programme coming up, and we're looking forward to hopefully seeing a few of you during the week.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks Neil. So you're right, it is a really packed programme. There's something happening every day that week in one of our libraries. What personally are you most looking forward to?
There's two events I want to highlight really for listeners. One of them is quite close to my own heart. I've actually been recording for podcasts in inverted comma with Dundee Audio News for some considerable time now, probably about 6 years. I usually record a 10-minute segment with the team to highlight what's coming up in libraries over the next month or so. So we've kind of turned the tables on them this time. Graham Tarbert, who is one of the producers with Dundee Audio News, has been conducting celebrity interviews for the past 40 years.
That's it.
He's been involved
That's quite a commitment.
A long time in his involvement with Dundee Audio News. Graham has interviewed the great and the good, from actors and actresses to entertainers, singers, politicians and authors. And we're just going to have a conversation over the period of the morning about what his most enjoyable experiences have been, where has been the most unusual site for an interview, what's been his most challenging interview, as well as a few humorous anecdotes on the way. The event itself will be in Kirkton Community Library on Tuesday the 15th of November with a kick-off time of 10 o'clock. Booking can be done through Eventbrite, or you can phone Kirkton Library on Dundee 436 326 for booking assistance. There will be a few visual aids on the day. Noticeably, Graham is bringing a hen-dog tickling stick. So there will be...
There's a blast from the past.
I think I might have to go.
Indeed.
What did they do then?
The list of people that Graham has interviewed, I don't want to really kind of spoil some of the kind of secrets that will come out. Well, they're not secrets, they're just anecdotes. But I certainly know Graham himself has spoken, because we've tried to rehearse this just to make sure we're okay with it. Graham's most satisfying interviews are often with the professional interviewers. So you're speaking about the likes of Jeremy Paxman, people who would grill the politicians. Graham has had an opportunity to grill them. So, and it's quite a broad range of discussion.
the table.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be quite daunting.
Yeah.
I think it would be really, quite scary prospect,
Especially Jeremy Paxman. Yeah.
So, I mean, the list, he has a list that he'll often send out, because often with author events that we arrange in libraries, Graham's snapping at me, could they get 20 minutes with the author just before they do their event with you? So he's had quite a few links with us over the years. So it's just an opportunity to turn the tables on Graham and get him to talk for a change.
Just going back to the tickling stick. What is it used for? Is that to relax people?
It was just to make people laugh, I think.
A nice break out. Yeah.
Need to get that clear in my head.
Well, you'll need to come.
I will.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one. Should have said that the theme this year for Book of Scotland is the Year of Scotland Stories. There's a theme every year. We've had Nourish in the past. This year it's the theme of Scotland Stories. So it's any kind of story relates to written in Scotland, created in Scotland, about Scotland. It can be fictional, non-fictional. So we've got a number of events as well about local history. So that the Star-Studded Travels with a Microphone is what the event is actually called. That fits with the local history interest at a local level with Graham. The other one I want to highlight as well, coming up on the Saturday the 19th of November. Now this is quite different for us. I've managed to arrange with D-Ukes, the local ukulele group, to come in and do a bespoke concert for us. It will be their annual charity event. They're fundraising for MS Therapy Tayside. So it is one of the few events in Brooklyn, Scotland that has a ticket price on it. £6 per ticket, which will go, all proceeds will go to the charity. They will do a bespoke programme of songs and stories that we have requested. So this is, if you have heard the Ukes before, there will be material in this concert that will be completely new, so I would encourage you to come along. You could even have a sing-along as well, because they've asked for a projection and a laptop to be available, so we'll have some groups singing on the day as well. That's in Central Library in the Steps Theatre, Saturday the 19th of November, kick-off at 2:30, it should finish about 4 o'clock. Bring your change, we'll have collection buckets on the day as well.
Yeah, sounds really
so
good.
that's interesting.
That sounds amazing.
It really does.
Just something different for us, because it's a musical basis, but it does fit with the programme because they're doing Scottish stories and so on.
And also, I think that's something that we've discussed, that we find people are open to a lot more different kinds of experiences now, but they want the social interaction. We all do, because we missed it.
And
So
the Steps Theatre, it's such an amazing
is.
little venue.
it is amazing.
It really is.
It is very of its age,
It certainly is.
and it has technical challenges.
But
Well,
that's
it
all
has-
it's great.
it has
It's
technical
lovely.
challenges,
Yeah,
yes.
we are.
We're very fond of it.
Yeah.
We're very fond of it.
We've had the sound check already, and yes, that was an interesting experience all round. But yeah, hopefully we're set for the day, so booking again for that through Eventbrite, or come in to the Central Library. We can help you with booking assistance here. Or tickets are also available directly from Liz Crawford, one of the D-Ukes members. And you can give her a phone, 0780 534 7988. But if you, as I say, if you want to book directly, either Eventbrite or just call in, we can help you before you Central
I'm
Library.
getting quite excited about
There really is a lot going
There
on. So for me, the highlights are going to be that we've got some really great author events during the week. I've just picked up on a few that, big names, aren't there? And there's a real crime theme, Scottish crime theme running through them.
Probably let everybody into a secret here. When we first planned this, one of the new supervisors, Louise, who is hosting an event up at Fintry, I said to Louise, who do you want? You tell me who do you want and I'll do the contact for you. She gave me a list of 10 crime authors. And Muggins, possibly in his stupidity, emailed all of them thinking, I'll only get one or two saying
which
yes.
is often the case.
8 said yes. Hence why the programme is so jam-packed, because I didn't feel after asking them I could turn in.
Oh God,
No, or they would never darken our door.
So we have got quite a good selection of crime authors this year.
Yeah, great. So, first off, we've got now known as T.F. Muir, but I originally knew him as Frank Muir, who writes about D.I. Gilchrist crime novels set in St Andrews. So, nice local connection there. And Frank is going to be at Minas Hill Library on the Monday, the 14th, in the evening between 6 and 7. I've read quite a few at the start of the series. I started with An Eye for an Eye, Hand for a Hand, Tooth for a Tooth, I think. And they're really readable novels. So
we're up to about 10 or 11 now.
I think the newest one is, I have a note of it here, Murder List is out just now. That's number 10, and 11 is out in 28th of November, and that is called Dead Find. So I think what's interesting as well, when you get a Scottish crime thing like that that's gone over such a long time, you notice all the differences in Police Scotland. A lot of them speak about that they've had to adjust their setup, the way that the detective would react, because it's all run differently now and that. So I'm sure Frank will have a lot to say.
We're hoping this goes well, because most of the books are set in St Andrews. There's a local link for us as well. It is a conversation, I would stress that as well. Frank has already said to us he doesn't really come with a standard spiel that he gives. He will very much welcome questions from the audience. So if you have read his novels, come along, be prepared. You might have to ask a few questions to get the evening going. But it is pitched very much as an evening of conversation with Frank. He's wanting audience interaction.
Good. And next up, on the Thursday evening, the 17th, in Central Library between 6 and 7, we've got an event, a triple noir event, where we've got 3 Scottish crime authors appearing. We've got Tony Black, Douglas Skelton and Doug Johnson, and they will be in conversation with each other, I think. So they all have quite strong back catalogues of different, Doug Johnson, I think, visited Central Library when, I think it was his first novel, Tombstone, came out, and it really interesting because it was set in Arbroath, and it was all to do with the people. A trend had developed where people were jumping off the cliffs, and but there was a murder mystery sort of moving into that. But I have recently started reading Doug Johnson, the Skelf series about. Have you heard of that, Aline?
No.
You would like it. It's a family of undertakers or funeral directors in Edinburgh, and the head of the family, the father, he dies. And the women, the wife and the daughters, take over. But it's not just the funeral directors, they've also got like a detective agency on the side as well. So it's about the things that they're investigating, but also in the first one, when the dad has died, the wife discovers that he's been paying money every month to something, and she gets involved in trying to find out what his secret part of his life was. But they're really good characters. I've only read the first one, but I think there's 4 all in all. So I would like to read the rest of them. So I'm sure he'll have something to say about that. Douglas Skelton, I'm personally not so familiar with, but I know he's had Glasgow detective novels, and he's now branched out into historical crime. I think the new series is called Company of Rogues, and An Honourable Thief just came out this year, the first in the series, so no doubt he'll have a bit to say about that. And then Tony Black, again, he has had Gus Jury, he's had D.I. Rob Brennan and D.I. Bob Valentine, but he also has worked with other people on some standalone crime novels too. So I think you said to me, Neil, that he's also quite well known as a painter now as well.
And I got the blurbs from all 3 of them. I mean, a side story here, I was like, I hope they all get on, because when you look at a panel event, you just never know. But fortunately, they all know each other really well, so it should be a good evening. But it's surprising from the blurbs, their background. Tony is quite an accomplished painter. Doug has a full list of previous work that he's done, including journalism, songwriting and musician. He's a member of the fun-loving Crime Writers Band. And Douglas as well lists a huge list of previous employment. So one of the questions I wanted to ask them on the night was, why writing when you've all got so many other things you could have gone to. Why write it?
Creativity.
Yeah, it is all
Bursting out of
creative.
different pores,
Yeah.
isn't it? Really.
I think I've also seen Douglas Skelton recently on some of these true crime programmes, you know, when they're reviewing old Scottish cold cases and things. I think he has some input into that as well. So I think that would be a really good night, and I'm sure they'll all play off one another. And again, if you're coming along, have your questions ready and have more than one, because I usually have one and then somebody else asks it and I'm stuck.
This one they have been asked to, because they're kind of leading the discussion themselves and they've kind of had to scope out what we're doing in the evening. I've asked them all to prepare a brief blurb about the background, but usually probably be Katie and myself and another colleague from the library will be there tonight. We usually have to ask one or two questions to get the conversation going. But it should be a good night.
Yeah.
Thankfully, we all
Yeah, good. Good.
Yes.
Triple noir.
I can't remember the last time we did this size of event.
Uh-huh.
I mean, I know we had James Oswald and Russell D. McLean probably about 4 years ago, but I can't remember the last time we could.
And that's when the steps comes into its own, because we can open up the doors and let people in. Yeah. And so finally from me, there's another great crime author event planned on the Friday evening at Dundee Library, and it's between 6 and 7 p.m. and that's Lynn Anderson, which I've been aware of for a long time. She's got 16 Rona McLeod detective novels in the past, but this year she brought out a standalone thriller, which I have read myself, and I would say it's more of a psychological thriller, but it's a crime too, and it's called The Party House. Now, I don't know if either of you have read the Lucy Foley, The Hunting Party. It's kind of like that vibe, I would say. So the main character is somebody called Greg, and he is a head gillie to an estate in the fictitious Highland village. It's called Blackrig. And he goes on a work trip to London and comes back. He meets someone called Joanne while he's in London, and he invites her up to stay, and she does come and visit. But there's all sorts of undercurrents. The party house is the estate, the big house of the estate, and it's sort of rented out to, socialites and things to have parties in. And digging back, there had been a party during the lockdown when there shouldn't have been anything going on. It was felt that they brought COVID to the village, and I think 4 people, adults and children, died in the village. So then there's a lot of resistance against this party house, and now the party house is reopening and a group has come, but something mysterious happens. And there's also a sort of other story running that a 17-year-old girl had disappeared a couple of years ago, and that's tying into what the mysterious happening now. So there's a lot of tension between, the wealthy and the not so wealthy, and incomers, and that kind of thing. Yeah. So it's a really good read. So I would imagine that Lynn will be speaking a lot about that, and it's maybe a new direction. She's written 16 novels in that series, and now she's trying something different. So again, I think that'll be a really good event. What about you, Lee?
Well, all these author events that are happening, there's so much more going on that week as well. So I've highlighted 3. So on Tuesday, the 15th of November, from 6 to 7:30, we have the Story Cafe. So in this Scotland's Year of Stories, join us to discuss the short fiction of one of our finest writers, Alistair Gray. Now, the Story Cafe normally runs, it's a monthly short story discussion group, and they meet on the first Tuesday of every month in Dundee Central Library. But for this one, the first 15 attendees to book will receive a copy of Gray's collected stories. Really good. Yeah. So it's free, but again, booking at dundeelibrary.eventbrite.co.uk is essential. You can contact Central Library on 0132 431 500 if you need booking assistance. But it sounds really good.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah.
Very much. I mean, we mentioned her before. It's Katie, one of our other library colleagues.
Yeah, and Katie was with us last time. Yeah.
It's very much a jumping on point to try and encourage, as we touched on it right at the beginning of it, Week Scotland, to get people to engage with books and reading who don't normally do it. So this is a chance to maybe come and try your hand at the Story Cafe, with the incentive that the first 15 people registering will get a free book from us.
Sounds really good. Well, how to write a good murder.
Well, I think some of these guys are just thought about
quite a lot about
that.
a good murder. If you want to find out how to write a good murder, you can join celebrated crime writer Carol Ramsey as she leads a creative writing workshop to assist budding writers to get from the blank page to the publishing stage. And this again will be in Central Library on Wednesday the 16th of November from 6 o'clock to 7:30, and again booking through Eventbrite, or again you can phone Central Library if you need any assistance.
That's a great opportunity to learn from somebody that's done it, isn't it?
Yeah. You might have an idea in your head, but it's how you actually physically get that down on paper.
Carol's been with us before, probably about 3-4 years ago now, certainly before COVID, and that was a traditional author talk. That when I made up the programme, we very much wanted to do something slightly different. We wanted a creative writing workshop in it, and Carol was the one that was quite happy to do that. And she's got such a broad range of skills. She's been complimented by other professionals in the profession about a dialogue, so she may focus on that during the talk. But also she's going to focus on how you get literally from writing your story to publishing as well. She'll touch on that during the talk as well.
I know a lot of people ask about that at events, don't they? They're always interested in finding out how people have got published.
That week, isn't it?
And
finally, back by popular demand, on Thursday the 17th of November between 2 p.m. and 3 p.m, you can join us at lunchtime for a bowl of soup and a wealth of stories as library staff and guests read extracts from their favourite books, and it's called Super Stories.
Super Stories. Yes. Look forward to that. It's always good fun.
I know, and again it's free, but booking through Eventbrite and Central Library details again. But
soup and sandwiches this year.
You're pushing
the both out.
Excellent.
It will be vegetarian soup coming from the McManus Cafe if anybody wants to
I
know.
thought you were making it.
No, I'm not. No, trust me, you don't want to go that far. And we've got 3 portions of gluten-free sandwiches coming as well, because we genuinely don't know who's going to happen.
No.
But it will be a vegetarian soup, and there's going to be sandwiches this year for the first time, because we like them like that.
Good. So it's a lovely event. It's always good. So Neil, just round us up on, these are all fabulous events. We want to see as many people as possible booking and coming in and enjoying them. What's the best way to do it?
Best way to do it, go to Eventbrite, eventbrite.co.uk. There is a link to Dundee Libraries. The full link is dundeelibraries.eventbrite.co.uk if you want to book online. Some of the sessions we've talked about, there may only be 20 or 30 seats, because in the community libraries we can't put a lot of people in. So you'd be very much encouraged to book quickly if you are interested. For all events, I've said, if booking assistance is required, you can contact the host library, and I will be speaking to the staff to talk them through how to generate paper tickets through Eventbrite, but the preferred option is if you book yourself. DUX is a separate one, because as I say, they're taking bookings directly with Liz Crawford from DUX. So I say the number again, 07805347988. But if you're stuck, and if there's something you're interested in and you can't remember the full details, just phone us at Central Library, 431500, and we'll talk you through it.
Great, thanks very much, Neil. So bring it on.
Absolutely.
Book Week Scotland from the 14th of November.
So thanks for joining us, everyone. We hope to see you again soon, either at some of these brilliant Book Week Scotland events, or here next time, beyond the bookshelf. Bye!